Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast. It is your host, Omar and Ricky. We got a special guest in the building today. Friend of the show, of course, and making his first appearance on season 5. We are joined today by none other than Harrison Faigen of Silver Screen and Roll. I wanted to do this for quite some time, Harrison. People forget Harrison has always been a bucket. How are you doing, man?
Well, anyone who watched me play in high school would disagree, but I'll let the people on the Late Night Lake Show podcast, you can believe whatever you want about my basketball abilities, but yeah, a bucket is not how people would have described. Maybe like a solid screen, like that. People forget like Harrison was taller than average, and so could play in pickup games at the park, I guess.
Yeah. I feel you, man. Thanks for coming, and excited for a great show today. First things first, I want to dive into another topic that has been, taking Lakers Twitter and the media world to a frenzy, and it's none other than Frank Vogel. And he might be the first head coach that I can remember that has been evaluated on a game-to-game basis. It's both fascinating and bizarre to the point where Chris Haynes is reporting that, yes, indeed, Vogel has traveled with the team to Orlando, and at this juncture, they are not releasing Vogel.
Yeah, they texted him a picture of Vogel's boarding pass. They're like, no, he's allowed on the plane. He's we've cleared him for this flight. TBD if he gets cleared for the one to Miami afterwards, but he's at least coming with the team to Orlando. They're on like a Delta flight-to-flight basis, saving money.
I know. I jokingly said on the timeline. I just sources to me that Vogel did travel to Miami as a joke. Yeah. But with the winner Orlando and Anthony Davis coming back hopefully today, how hot on a scale of hot sauce, Frank's hot sauce, we'll say, right, to wasabi is Vogel's seat? We'll start with you, Harrison.
I think it's got to be pretty hot because this kind of stuff doesn't start coming out at 45 games into the season, which, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that I've ever seen a coach get fired that late in the year. I know David Blatt, I remember, was fired pretty late by normal standards in that Cavaliers season when they ended up turning things around with Tyronn Lue and all of that stuff. But I think that was still only 30-ish games in, and people were saying that was really late to fire a coach. Usually if that happens, it's in the first 20 games, okay, the guy was already on the hot seat. They just, the team didn't get off to a good start. Let's just axe him. It's what happened to Luke Walton this year, where that's kind of the normal timeline for a coach firing. And instead, you have Vogel. It's they had made it. It's over halfway through the year. I was like, okay, he's safe at least until the summer. We're past the point where a coaching change is going to make a realistic difference to this team's long-term fortunes, just because even if, you bring in prime Phil Jackson that LeBron doesn't hate, then it's just, you need a training camp to kind of get guys on the same page, turn things around, implement your system. It's just so, but just the fact that it's leaking out, it means that there's a ton of tension at the very least between this coaching staff and the front office. If this is coming out and we have competing leaks from different factions and all of this stuff, and everybody's trying to go to war and point the finger through the media and all of these things. So it's at the very least, I would say, probably not as productive of a working relationship as Frank Vogel keeps claiming in his media interviews and all of that. But
this is fun.
It's got to be hot. But at the same time, for all the reasons that I just mentioned, it's hard for me to see them kind of making a change at this stage, just because I honestly think that AD's injury, at least for today's game, if he's really truly being evaluated on a game-to-game basis, it at least gives him a little bit of a built-in excuse of okay, guys are still adjusting to playing around AD, all of that stuff. I think that, and it's the Heat who are really good. It would be weird if they were just after all this, they lose by 10 points to the Heat and the front office is I've seen enough. We got to get rid of him. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it has to be hot, but if he's not gone on this road trip, I don't think that it's happening, because at that point, again, it's you're going to throw Phil Handy in here, or you're going to throw David Fizdale or whoever it is in here and be all right, you got 30 games, turn it around. That's setting that guy up for failure. And you're losing, just practically speaking, you're losing a coach off the staff who at least, has coached at the NBA level and kind of understands all that. I just think logistically, I don't see it making a ton of sense at this point, but I still think it has to be really hot, because we wouldn't be getting all these reports of discord and dysfunction and Kurt Rambis demanding that the Lakers play 7 centers in their lineup and all of that stuff if, things were productive.
The Rambi, they're a problem for sure. Kurt and Linda. Ricky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think first of all, we got to do something about Kurt and Linda Rambis on this show. Like, they need either a scarlet letter or like a censor button every time we say their name, because they are the face of hell right now, and I just don't know what positivity they are bringing to the Los Angeles Lakers. When you're saying that DeAndre Jordan and Dwight Howard, they should all just be getting more minutes on the court, and you're inserting yourself in pressure. Maybe Kurt Rambis should coach the damn team then, since we wanted this dude.
I think that's what he wants.
Honestly, I don't know that that's like off the table. Like if he's coming into coaches meetings and all of that, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. I still think that it would probably be Phil Handy. But like if it was, if they were going to fire a coach and someone was like, I have all these great ideas, like playing DeAndre Jordan more, we gotta get our big guys out there. So AD at the 3, he's really been a small forward this whole time.
Look how it's working in Cleveland. You can do it. Just the league of giants. I got Phil on the text message. So Jeannie, Phil is texting me while I coach the team. It's a win-win
he always
for
said
everybody.
That he wanted to coach, just home games. So we'll bring in Phil to coach the home games. He coaches via Skype with Rambis on the road games. They co-coach. They got him on the iPad. And I think that is the only way that this season could get more insane is Kurt Rambis, interim coach.
The reverse Kyrie right now, if we if we brought him in for the home game. I mean, I think that, I just find this all just the hilarity in just all of this, where if the Lakers would have beat the Indiana Pacers, everything would be feeling different right now. Tap Utah's ass, would have taken care of business against the Pacers, went on the Grammy trip, whatever aggravation against Orlando, we would have given them the benefit of the doubt because we're Lakers fans and we're pretty much addicted to crack when we watch this team and don't care.
Right.
But after that, we would head into a Miami game, Sunday, South Beach, return of Anthony Davis. True, I would say Frank Vogel's seat would have cooled down a considerable amount. But that one game has now put this man in the crosshairs. Obviously, there was tension in the front office before this stretch of games. Pretty much the whole season, right? Going back to
this doesn't come out in game 45 because it's like this week the coaching staff decided they're like, oh man, this kind of sucks. Like Kurt Rambis has given us ideas in coaches meetings. Like this has been building for a while. It's pretty clear.
We had at work, we have our weekly huddle meetings where we have to put pretty much our status for our how we're doing as far as capacity. Mood. Yeah, and then our mood, right? So they just check in, the Rambi check in on the weekly coach's mood, and we see that they're upside down, frown face. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, it don't work like that, right? So I would say that, the seat has been hot since they gave him a 1-year extension. Right. And it has only gotten hotter to this point. Now, the AD injury, him coming back, has bought you a chunk of games to rebuild. And it just so happens to happen during one of the hardest stretches of the season. So that might be a blessing in disguise for Frank that he can hide behind that. But at the end of the day, man, if we hear any more rumblings, any comments by a LeBron or an AD, he's off to the guillotine, man. The hangman is he's on lunch break smoking a cigarette, but he's definitely got the call saying, get ready.
For sure. Heads could roll, right? That's what we alluded to earlier in the season. But yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Like the seat's been hot for a hot minute, right? I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to finish this season personally. Like, I just can't see, the team making a change, even though I think the pressure that they're applying publicly makes sense, I guess, to kind of help make the changes that need to be adjusted from game to game from Vogel because of his, questionable rotations at times that we've gotten into. But I think
Lakers fans and Lakers management have something in common. We both slander our favorite people in public, apparently, to see morale change. That's the idea that the front office is doing right now. Let's get this to the streets.
If Kurt Rambis jumps in the Twitter spaces like after tonight's game. He's just, Frank, you won't play DJ and Dwight at the same time. It's just I don't understand why,
Man, that would break our records more so than
him and Ray Westbrook can argue about whose fault this is.
I'm deleting the account. I get those two in. I think it officially be a virus.
That would be. Yeah, we're definitely get reported if we get those two.
For sure. The peanut gallery would bring out the tiki torches for sure. It would be a public display.
Absolutely, and I think this is a good segue to the fact that Westbrook Vogel bench Westbrook in that Pacers game, and it speaks to, some sort of point where he had to get front office or management like discretion to make that move. And Westbrook, however polarizing he is, at this point in time, he played a better game against the Magic. I'll give him that. But I think, things are starting to build momentum on that front too. I think we will get into the details of that later. But he's saying all the right things, which is great to hear, like in terms of his role and sacrifice. But the performance have, of course, from game to game has wavered. But what do you guys think? What is the confidence level in Russ in him making it work? And I think AD coming back to the fold definitely helps things along. But Harrison, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, honestly, Russ has been about what I expected him to be, I think, at this point. And, it was funny. The Magic game, he was getting roasted online, including by like Sports Center and all this stuff. And it's like he had a couple high profile mistakes in that game, which is, that's part of the Russ experience, is he makes a couple plays that you're like, what the hell were you like, have you played basketball before? And then, and then he, mostly on aggregate is a positive. And I thought that he was mostly pretty good against the Magic. And, mostly pretty good is not what I think a lot of people were hoping for when the team traded for him. But, I think the point that you just mentioned, Omar, about AD coming back, that is huge, because it puts the times when we've seen Westbrook at his best, it's when he's in that kind of third option role this year. And it's just going to be a matter of like, has he accepted that? And it seems like he has, because he was thriving in it, in the limited times he's gotten to actually play it. And he's just not like a championship number 1 or number 2 at this point in his career. And that's fine. I mean, he's on the wrong side of 30. He's a guy whose game was always mostly predicated on his athleticism and speed and kind of like his ability to attack the rim. And, we've seen all of a sudden he has like forgotten how to make a layup a lot of times this year. And, but I think that with AD to take some pressure off, I think that now that they're actually going to play small instead of, running the clogged toilet offense, for the majority of their minutes with, that starting lineup of DJ and Kent Bazemore and Russ and LeBron and AD, this team has come a long way towards figuring out who they are since the last time that AD was even in uniform, and even since before that, since the way they started the season. So I mean, number one, you guys can tweet this clip out if I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's no way that AD is playing the 4 anymore at points this year, unless like LeBron is the 5, just to kind of, convince it. It's like, no, AD, you're still the power forward. It's good. Like LeBron's going to bang with Steven Adams. It's totally fine. Yeah. So I think they figured out a lot of things that can help this team, just in terms of like AD at the 5 is a different kind of, spacing equation than it is when he's playing the 4 alongside DJ, who also can't space the floor, alongside Dwight or whatever. So that opens up some driving lanes for Westbrook. We've seen Westbrook be able to have some success in the dunker spot and things like that. And, he may not like it. There was that answer a couple weeks ago when he was laughing at the phrasing of, as a point guard, what do you think about that? Yeah. Like, he clearly is not always happy with the way that things have gone, but I do think that he is genuine when he's saying, I want to make this work. I want to try and figure out ways that we can kind of figure this out. And even if it's not what he's the most comfortable with, I don't think that it's necessarily fair to say, hey, he sucks, like when he's not really playing the role that he was set up for. It's like, it was like when everybody got mad at Kuz last year for, midway through the season when LeBron and AD were out. It's like, oh, where's starter Kuz now? It's like, he's the first option. I mean, that's why he sucks. Like, Kuz is not an NBA, like hot stretch in Washington recently aside, Kuz is not, an NBA level first option. And, he looks better when he's playing off of guys in a more limited role. And, I think it's not to compare Westbrook to Kuz, very different NBA resumes, but, it is that matter of kind of slotting and where a guy's best. And so I do think that Westbrook can be better than he has shown, provided that LeBron and AD are able to stay healthy and the asks on him are a little bit less.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Ricky, co-founder of Late Night Lake Show. Just stopping by to let y'all know about a new sponsor that you guys are going to absolutely love. For the first time, the Late Night Lake Show is going to be powered by Symbol. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, what is Symbol, you ask? Well, I'm about to tell you. Hang on. Symbol is the stock market for sports that allows you to profit off your sports knowledge. On Symbol, you can trade sports teams like stocks, and every time your team wins, you earn cash. You like that? Okay, get a pen and pad out, get your phone notes up, get to typing. It's about to get good. Use your sports knowledge on Symbol to buy low, sell high, and earn cash payouts when your team wins. Join 7,000 early adopters who have started to invest in their favorite teams already. Visit www.simbull.com/LNLS. That's short for Late Night Lake Show, to create a free account. And when you deposit, make sure to use that promo code LNLS to get free $10 bonus. The only thing I wanted to add with that is just it's going to be on Russ, from here on out. I think we've seen what the equation's going to be with LeBron and AD as a solo big man, right? Russ is going to be on the floor. Unless Vogel decides to bench him again, but if we get, too many more benches, that means Russ is getting borderline on.
We're gonna get a leak that, like Kurt Rambis said, Vogel can bench him, but only if it's for DeAndre Jordan. So it's like, Lakers fans, pick your poison.
That's me jumping off my balcony. Is what you
yeah, I'm gonna join you in that.
But I think when it comes to Russ, and Raj said it really well in our last episode, he is now a high level role player. And, I think when you get to that point in your career, it's now on the former superstar to make those mental adjustments. And I think you heard Melo start talking about that. Like, yeah, this shit's not easy, man. Like, I'm the poster child for this shit is not easy, right? But it's what time is going to dictate who you are, unless you just want to be, Sean Kemp on the Orlando Magic and nobody really gives a shit, right? And you can just do whatever you want, right? And then you got Russ really just needing to lock in on, all right, whatever consistent role the Lakers need me to play with LeBron and AD, this is just who I am now. And maybe this is not who I want to be beyond this season, and we'll figure that out after this season, right? But if the Lakers want to string together any type of competitive, consistent, playoff contending basketball, it's going to be on the shoulders of Russell Westbrook mentally, because I don't think the Lakers are going to go extremely far without a locked in, engaged, bought in Russ. LeBron and AD are still a problem no matter what building they walk into. But as you see, it's going to take a village. And this is the reason why Russ is here, right? Handpicked from the LeBron James school of I need him on my team. Now we need to see that puzzle piece kind of shave off some of the sizes and shapes on it so it could fit into this equation.
Yeah, I think you guys made excellent points. And I think as fans, we forget that they only played 7 games together, and that's just not enough to evaluate them at all. And they need...
It's not?
I mean, Laker fans, we need every.
What about the 6 preseason games? We've seen enough. We saw them together at Summer League. That kind of counts. They've had time.
14. But LeBron and Russ were dancing together too. That counts as a half of basketball.
Yeah,
we're still but we've made some improvements, like you guys, highlighted, and I want to touch upon some of those. Right, going to the small ball and letting our other talented ball handlers take up the ball and run the point, like Malik Monk. We've given him more of a role, and we've seen Russ play off of that, right? And that's something that I've noticed in the season, is that he's accepted that type of role, playing in the dunker spot, like you mentioned, Harrison. And we did beat some, good teams in that 7-game stretch, or however many games they did play together. But the Cleveland Cavs, we didn't know that they were really good, but they're a good team. And then we beat the Grizzlies too early in that season when them 3 were healthy. But it's just, it makes sense, the attention that Anthony Davis and LeBron, the defense deserves so much attention to those two, that Russ, it makes his life a lot easier. And yeah, I agree. He is that high functioning, role player when he's in that proper slotting. And I'm excited for them to get, AD coming back right now at this point is we're probably the healthiest, ever, right? Harrison, I see your tweets all the time. We've had a list of people that are out due to health and safety protocols or this and that. It must be the smallest injury report.
This is the shortest, one of the shortest injury reports of the year. This last week or so, especially now that AD is moved down to the questionable. It's it's nice and spaced out. There's one guy on each line. Yeah, it's yeah. Can I just say, Ricky, you mentioned Melo and them asking him about changing roles and all of that stuff and adjusting, and he's talked about it. Can I just say, just as on the side, one of the most amusing things about the Melo post game experience this year, practice experience or interview experiences. Number one, everything that he says sounds like a coffee table philosophical book. He just is very, every single, you could ask Melo, how are your pick and roll coverages? And he'll give you some large picture answer on the way the universe works and whatever. Right. And also and this is not to say anything about the reporters asking the questions, but it's just funny that you could basically boil down almost every question Melo gets this year to the preface of hey, you used to be really good, or, hey, you're kind of old now. And so do you remember when you were young and what that was like? And it's almost every question is hey, you're old. How are you still doing it? Or it's, hey, remember when you kind of sucked and wouldn't accept that because you wouldn't accept that you weren't as good anymore? That. Yeah, tell us about why is Russ bashing his head against this wall? It's
we didn't see you bloody up your own face multiple seasons in a row trying to work this out.
It's Melo, do you think Russ needs to be out of the league for a year so that he can come back and kind of play a role player? Is he going to need to come back with the Blazers and just kind of learn to contribute to more winning environment?
I think he's had to make this metamorphosis, right? Like you said, Melo's
I understand the reason for the questions. It's just funny. And if I were Melo, I would be very insulted. He's a better man than me. Because if people are hey, you're washed now, but when you were good, what?
Are we?
He's always good spirits, and I don't know how.
Buddha Melo? Is this Buddha Melo?
This is the next transformation. This is his Pokemon evolution from Hoodie Melo to Buddha Melo. He just he sits there, he floats, he gives you wisdom, and sometimes 20 points a game if he's feeling good.
When he's feeling good, man, he'll let you know.
As long as he's not out there, at the 5 for way too long, I think I'm okay with,
And that's not even his fault. People get mad at him. Yeah. It's he's not a center. I'm sorry. He's playing drop coverage. What did you think was going to happen? What do you want him to do?
He is food out there. The team just attack him. And I don't blame them because
did you not watch the Lakers play the Blazers 2 years ago? And what happened when, how they were targeting Melo?
Isn't it funny that how we have both of those guys on the team now, Melo and Russell?
Ate them apart. Ate them for fucking lunch. And then said, you know what?
It's more proof that this front office only watches the Lakers games and the guys that they play against. They're oh, yeah. Russ had a couple good games against us in the playoffs, I think. Yeah.
You see him arguing, we're looking for fans in the stands. That's that intensity that we need over here in Laker land.
Yeah, no, Will Rondo tried to warn us about all this. And, people just didn't listen.
Shout out Rondo. Hope he's doing all right in Cleveland. I haven't heard one peep out of him since after the trade, but hope all is well over there. Sorry, Omar, go ahead.
No problem. Anything else on the Westbrook stuff before we head into the Lakers trade season?
It's a different world with Russ. I think for my mental well-being, I've had to adjust my lenses. I think yesterday I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, I feel like I'd appreciate Russell Westbrook a lot more if he had just never came to the Lakers, but not in a disrespectful way. It's just you see some things up close, you're like, oh.
Yeah, you don't really know a guy, or at least this is how I feel having, now, done this for a number of years. I feel like, I have ideas of what guys are good, what guys are bad or whatever, but it's look, I watch almost 82 Lakers games a year. Usually I end up skipping one or two, but you get a better idea of who guys are, from watching them you don't really know who a player is until you watch them play on a game-to-game basis. And you just see kind of how their game ebbs and flows and, what their kind of tendencies are. And, when you just watch them a couple times a year on national TV or whatever, and that's, to be honest, that's all I have time to do. I've never claimed to do otherwise. It's you don't totally know, kind of the ups and downs of their game until you watch them on a game-to-game basis. And that's kind of how I feel with Westbrook. I think there's, certain things that maybe I downplayed in my preseason analysis because, I hadn't watched him play every single game in his career ever.
Yeah, roller coasters are cool. Roller coasters are really cool till you have to get on one. So you got to get on the biggest one. And that's what I felt like the Russell Westbrook experience is. Riding past Great America every year and then finally getting on the Raging Bull.
You got to do it for 82 games. That's a
I've thrown up 6 times, man.
It's fun to get. It's a good analogy. It's fun to go to Disneyland or Six Flags or whatever and get on the roller coasters. But would you want to do that every day? Would you want to live on a roller coaster? It's a lot tougher. It's fun. It's a fun 5 to 10 minute diversion, but that's not a fun way to live. It's just we're not meant to be like that.
It's not. Did you guys see there was a clip after during the Magic game? Shaq was on. He was at the game, right? And there was that one play. I think Magic, they turned the ball over. Russ is going 100 miles an hour, and he lobs the ball up to LeBron.
And two other people.
Magic
defenders.
And the next dead ball, I think someone's shooting the free throw. I don't know. I don't remember who it is. But Shaq goes to Russ. He's like, yo, you're playing too fast.
Shaq for interim coach. Get him in there. Shaq's ready to take over.
Nepotism. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
Might as well.
As long as they just need to promise that he can still do inside, on off nights or whatever. Like they can have somebody fill in for him if the Lakers are playing that night. He can call in at halftime, whatever. But let Shaq interim coach the team. I think we just solved this.
Why not? I think that's our candidate right there.
By the way, the person that was recording that video was a hater. Like, if you see two famous people, right? Let's just take it outside of basketball. You see two really famous people having a conversation, and you can pick up on it, and you decide, hey, I'm going to record this. Don't nobody need your comments in the peanut gallery. Shut the hell up. Record the content. Post your comment in the quote tweet or the Facebook post or however the hell you want to distribute it. This man talking about, oh, Russ, this is your world and Russ just wants to live and this, and shut your ass up. Record the content. Drake, get out the video of LeBron and Kobe going one-on-one in the All-Star game. Sit your ass down and let magic happen.
Harrison, I think we hit a nerve here with Ricky.
This is as angry as I've seen him since before we got on the air.
which, by the way, I'm we got to talk about now. Anthony Davis, obviously is a Green Bay Packers fan, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. So that's a whole thing in itself, right? And then you got the Packers getting stomped up out the playoffs, getting immunized out of the playoffs last night. And I just check my timeline and I see still frames of Anthony Davis IG post of I forget my boy's name, but from Paid in Full, and he's crying. His son just got killed, and I see AD talking about like, oh, he hyped up, he ready to go. I'm thinking this has to do with him now being upgraded to questionable, so he's like hype, he locked in, he's ready for basketball. Let's go. Come to find out, I'm doing pregame with Harrison. He's like, oh, yeah, is this so funny? AD's like so like unaware of stuff outside. He's responding to Aaron Rodgers getting eliminated from the playoffs. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, yeah, that IG post was about Aaron Rodgers, not about the Lakers. And I almost flipped the whole fucking table over.
He's not lying. This is not a bit. He was very upset when he found out that, this was over AD being mad about the Packers and not because he was excited to come back tomorrow. Or today,
This in GTA, I just, I love me some GTA too, but Anthony Davis hopping out of basketball world and talking about other things with the context of what's happening in basketball world. Somebody needs
I can't get behind this. The clip of him killing Steph Curry in GTA is some of the best content we've gotten in the last 2 years since the Lakers won the title. Like, I will not let you take that away from me. That was very, very funny that like someone set him up. And again, this is AD not being the most self-aware guy, just goes up, kills the guy, moves on, doesn't even think about it. He's not in NBA mode. He's like, 30 in a Golden State Warriors jersey. I don't know who that is. Like, kills and moves on.
Playing GTA.
Yeah, and then like that led to some great content in the playing game and all of that.
Game or after? I forget. Was that before we played the Warriors in the playing?
That was before.
Game?
Yeah, that was like at some random point in the year because he wasn't the Warriors playing thing like wasn't on the table at that point. He was just playing GTA online. But then the clip got brought back out. When they were doing the play, it was great. Yeah, I can't be mad at AD.
That was GTA. Good content. So I want us all to wear our GM hats and caps, which we're already doing because we're going to hire Shaq as our head coach. Yep. But there have been, reports, shout out to Mark Stein and his Substack, that he did confirm that the Lakers did offer the 2027 first round pick along with THT and none for Jeremy Grant. And this was a little, Ricky and I talked about this on Friday. The Rockets would be willing to do a Russell Westbrook and John Wall swap as long as there's draft compensation included. So I wanted to break that down and I wanted you guys to unpack that and give me your thoughts. What do you guys think of all that?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I got to preface this by saying like Mark Stein is my guy. My fellow Titan has like, given me like invaluable advice as I've like begin to start my career. Amazing, amazing person. Like that trade. And again, this is something that someone told him. He's just reporting. It's not like his idea where he's like, I think the Lakers should do this. He actually said, I don't think the Lakers should do this. And I don't see why they would. But, look, I'm not. Would the Rockets be willing to take a first round pick for an equally bad contract for a guy that's not playing for them? Like, of course, why would they not pick up a 2027 first round pick from the Lakers, who seem to be going through like multiple coups at once, and you don't know that LeBron's still going to be here and like what's going to be going on in 2027? Like, yeah, like of course they'd take that for John Wall when he's just like sitting on the sidelines, basically being like the highest paid assistant coach in NBA history. It's like, yeah, like I would obviously do that deal if I was the Rockets, but like, why would the Lakers do it? It's not like John Wall. It would be one thing if John Wall was like, okay, he's on an iffy contract, but he's been more productive than Westbrook this year. And, maybe he's a better fit, all of these things, but he's not. The John Wall of several years ago probably would be before pre all these injuries, because he was such a great defender and like, just speed demon in the open court. Exactly what this team was kind of, not the defender part, but the speed demon, all that stuff. Like that's what the team was hoping for from Westbrook in terms of getting them out in transition, all these things. But like, we haven't seen John Wall play that more than like 20 games of NBA basketball in like 3 or 4 years. And, the Lakers, by virtue of John Wall being a clutch client, like the Lakers know better than probably even the Rockets what stage, John Wall is at physically and all of these things if they were going to do a move like this. But, John Wall, for everyone kind of clamoring for this trade, I understand that you're upset with Russ. You're upset with the way he's played. John Wall brings almost every single fit concern that Russ has, and you're giving up a first round pick for the privilege. Like, I don't see why the Lakers are going to be like digging their own grave and like giving up a first round pick for like a better shovel, I guess, to continue to dig that grave. I don't know. Like, we don't even know that Wall is better than Westbrook at this point in their careers, given the injuries. Like, that's not a guarantee. And, he's just as bad of a shooter, basically. So you have all these same floor spacing concerns, all the same, we got to have these kind of lineup considerations. I guess the only argument that I can really that anyone could really make for this is, if the Lakers just decided, Westbrook thing isn't working. It's not working in the locker room. We got to move on. Our only chance is to get like better vibes from John Wall, if that's what they've decided internally. But like, even that said, like, I don't know if that's worth giving up a first round pick for, because I don't know that just like getting off of Westbrook is a move that takes to the title, no matter how John Wall plays. And so to me, it just makes absolutely no sense. And I understand why the Rockets would be willing to do that. Like, oh, that's so courteous of them to kind of help the Lakers out of this Westbrook jam. But no, they're not doing it for altruism. They're doing it to try and kind of fleece this team that might be a good 2027 first at this point,
LeBron's going to be 42.
Right. My head starts to hurt when we talk about first round picks down the road. It's just, we've seen this.
Someone pointed out to me yesterday, that's an 8th grader. The Lakers would be trading an 8th grader for John Wall.
You know what I'm saying? I joke and I say like, oh, we're at the point where my son's draft class is going to start getting traded around, and my son's 4. Like, we're not that far away from shit like that. And I just, I start thinking big picture, right? Like, obviously LeBron has the weight of the franchise on his shoulders right now. And there's going to be a day where he has to take that responsibility off and go continue to be a billionaire and do other great things in this world. I think all of Laker Nation has just, a little bit of a mild concern about life after LeBron James. Should we be thinking that far out? I don't know, probably, because, it's not like the Lakers are steamrolling right now and we're just living in a world of euphoria. Well, that's not too good. Those kids were overdosing in high school. But regardless, maybe that is a good example of how us Lakers fans are right now.
They're living in the show Euphoria.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the show.
Exactly. I just can't get with the whole mortgaging future assets for extremely temporary relief. Yes, we are to maximize LeBron James' window right now. But we go down the road, and like you said, it'll be 42 in 2027, and the Lakers are, I don't know, a fringe playing team if we don't get that other star to accompany Anthony Davis. And I'm looking back, and it's like, damn, Lakers would have had the 13th pick this season. Where'd that trade go? And it's like, oh, yeah, that was to John Wall, who did absolutely shit when he came over. And then I start thinking about, okay, what else have we given up in the past? The Dennis Schroeder pick. And you just think back, it's like, I'm done with the temporary help for, sacrificing the future. So with that said, you mentioned Jeremy Grant, Kendrick Nunn, THT, right, in that first round pick. Jeremy Grant under contract for another season after this. Whatever the Lakers decide to do, if they're going to give up that first round pick, God, please, I beg of thee, let it be for somebody who is at least contractually obligated to play for the Lakers for an extended amount of time. I can't do it, man. I can't do it for the now or laters and just, all of a sudden, now my candy broke. Now you're
not trading an eighth grader for Jeremy Grant. We got to start putting it that way. Like you're trading not a first round pick. They're trading an eighth grader,
I'll trade the eighth grader for Jeremy Grant because he has another year left on his deal. Now there's little comments about
Bryce, for Jeremy Grant. Like
that's fine. The kid's not even gone through puberty yet, and he's gone. He's got to go. Now, I will not trade that little angel for John Wall. I cannot bring my soul to do that. Trading kids, that's awful, right? But if it's Jeremy Grant, it goes back to them kids.
I agree with you. I agree where you stand in terms of the Jeremy Grant and John Wall thing. Like, here's a quick breakdown. John Wall has only played 72 games in the past 3 seasons. That's nasty. That is not
how many?
72.
That's more than I thought.
I was going to say that's way higher than I thought. All right, never mind. Get in on it, Lakers. Here we go. Like
3 years ago, he had
17, and I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
There goes that eighth grader. He's gone.
He's gone.
Good luck in Houston.
We can't trust. And to your point, Harrison, that you said when you talk about John Wall's injuries. On the other side of that coin, Russell Westbrook has been he's played every game, right?
That's where I was going to
go. He's there, There's that whole your best ability is availability, and Russell Westbrook definitely pushing on that philosophy.
That has been his best ability this year. Like by availability has been being available.
He's played every game. Right? I don't think he's missed a game.
No, he hasn't missed
a game.
Yeah.
So
that's him and Melo, and then Melo missed a couple last week.
Right.
It would have been hilarious if Melo was the only Laker to play in all 82 games. Like oldest guy on the team, just makes it through all 82 because he doesn't play defense. He's just out there, shooting wide open.
Isn't it funny how many games the young guys have missed versus the old guys? Like that, I think I was trying to look at the numbers of that. It's just ridiculous.
Well, Kendrick Nunn heavily skews that.
We already know what Ricky thinks about Kendrick Nunn.
Where the fuck is Kendrick Nunn? I'm not saying that he posted that in response. I'm just saying the timing was hilarious that he.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't think that it wasn't in response,
I dropped it on Instagram a few hours before. Maybe he's more Instagram heavy, but I think
most NBA players are. Yeah.
Got the temperature of the room is like, maybe Laker Nation should need to hear from me real quick. Besides being
like, oh man, comments. Ricky's mad. All right. Well, I gotta post an apology on Twitter.
Not the Chicago Laker fan. No, we can't do me like that. Yeah.
It's like, okay, one guy that's supposed to still like me.
Right. I want to see you, brother. You're now, hopefully, let's say you're the best buyout pickup of the season, for the Lakers, because that's where we're at.
That's what I've been saying about like him and AD. It's like, Lakers fans have been so down on Nunn and AD, but there's nothing Lakers fans love more than getting excited for like a super fringe buyout guy. It's like this guy, Markieff Morris is going to change our team. And, Markieff Morris ended up being pretty good in that playoff run. He's the rare exception among buyout guys at that. So we just got to phrase it. It's like, no. Kendrick Nunn and AD aren't coming back from injury. The Lakers are getting AD, an 8-time All-Star on the buyout market, and like possibly this, like, he was an undrafted free agent, played 2 pretty good years in Miami, hit the buyout market. He's coming back, joining the Lakers, Kendrick Nunn. I think this is how we get the people excited. We got to do jersey swaps for them, even though they played in Laker jerseys, like, do the whole thing, like best buyout editions of the season.
And Harrison, what do we say on the timeline? That's why he's the MVP, right? That's what we
exactly.
say.
That's why he's the buyout MVP. We got to come up with like a nickname. There should be an award for like best buyout signing or something. The NBA should just do it at the end of the year, like the Markieff Morris Memorial Trophy, like
left for a better situation award.
Yeah,
let the toxic relationship,
the late season blow up award, like.
Yeah, the Chicago Lakers are here to save the day. We just got to lean into that more. Anthony Davis and Kendrick Nunn, they just have
to try the recruiting.
They're going to right the ship, and then so I'm just going to pass
THT's
that.
Been playing well lately, so all 3 of them are ready to go.
Back.
Yeah.
Yep, we did have to retire the comps though. I would appreciate the THT doppelganger comps, but my brother's lining. It's starting to escape him. And for a man that is very proud about, he's still holding on, be 30 in 10 days, still holding on to his hairline. You just don't do me because THC's got the George Jefferson a little bit. And this is flowing. There ain't none leaving. Just, so that's the only thing that irks me with the THT counts. But I guess I would have a receding hairline to make his money. I'd do. Well, yes, I would.
I mean, look, I mean, as someone who has a receding hairline anyway, it's not that bad. It'd be worth a couple $1 million. I mean, I do it for free, It's
why not? Yeah, so that I think that's about it. All right, fellas. Do you guys have anything else?
No, I want to know Harrison's favorite interview so far, or like post-practice, post-game availabilities. I know you're enjoying this mellow experience, but who have you talked to this year that you're just like, I had a lot of fun?
It's definitely, if it's not Melo, it's probably not Melo. Melo's like top 3 probably, but I think it's got to be Malik. Malik is just like so excited every single time, so earnest, like so honest in terms of, what he said. Like, he's a guy that you can always count on to keep it unfiltered. It's like, you talk to LeBron, you talk to AD, you talk to Russ, whatever. Like, these guys have gone through like 50 million of these post-game interview sessions, whatever. Like, Malik Monk was in and out of the rotation for Charlotte, probably has gotten as many interviews this year as he did the last 2 combined. He's just excited every single time to be up there. And, he's just like an endearing young guy, just really, really enthusiastic, always like kind of unfiltered in terms of the answers that he'll give and whatever about like, people ask him like, oh, when you hit a couple shots to start the game, like, does that get you in a different rhythm? And he's like, no, pretty much always confident, always about the same. And it's like, yeah, watching you play, I can see that. Like, that is, not a question I needed the answer to. And yeah, Malik is just very, very endearing, I think. So he's probably number 1.
I think my favorite quote from him too. I was just going to say my favorite quote from him. I think I forget who asked, maybe Harrison, but they asked him why he doesn't have any tattoos on his right arm, and he goes strictly.
That was Dave. That was our guy, Dave McMenamin. Yeah, he asked him about the no tattoos and the Nick Young thing, and then got a text from Nick Young out of the blue saying that like Malik Monk could carry on his legacy. That was great.
That's nice. That's great. Everybody needs a Swaggy P blessing to really fulfill their life's just the journey. Fact that didn't make Malik's play fall off of a cliff is like, further reinforces how good he's been, because usually, when Nick Young endorses something, it means it's about to start missing. And so, we all saw it on national TV, like, the whole turnaround, like celebrating the 3, and then it comes out like, I thought the Malik Monk was about to be that ball, and he was like, just about to bounce right out. It's like best role player of the season. Nope, it's gone. But, he survived the Nick Young endorsement. Most impressive feat of the season, maybe. Right. It's always former Lakers this season. It's like you almost forget like who's a former Laker, because everybody come out the woodworks to defend this team this season. It's like Nick Young's comment. And now we go to Nick Young on the Lakers struggle this year. And Nick Young's talking about, well, you don't want to see LeBron and AD in the playoffs and Russell Westbrook's going to Philadelphia. Okay, that's enough for Nick Young. Thank you, sir. We'll check next year. Because
they've seen that your best chance to get signed to this Lakers team is to be really old and to be a former Laker. And so they're like, maybe if I talk up LeBron and AD, one of these buyout signings, is Nick Young officially retired? Probably not. He's ready to come back if he gets the call. So yeah, I imagine Nick Young like has like a go bag of just like basketball stuff ready to go on like a moment's notice. If somebody it doesn't even have to be an NBA team. Just somebody calls him and they're like, hey, Nick, we need you to come like score 20 in this, intramural game. And Nick Young's like, all right, I'm ready. It's time.
He literally is in every celebrity basketball event.
Nick Young just loves basketball. He doesn't love practice, but he loves playing in basketball games.
He's a pure hooper. That's right.
Yeah. Shout out to Ball Don't Stop.
Crying. All right, we did a Ball Don't Stop drop. It's time to get out of here.
Yep. I'm going to blame Anthony Davis for that one. All right, fellas. That'll do it for this week's episode. Appreciate everyone and everybody for tuning in. Harrison, it was a pleasure having you back on the show, and great to have you as a friend of the podcast, of course. Thank you for joining. And if you want to take a moment, let everyone know where they can find you and all the good content that Silver Screen and Roll posts.
Yeah, so just like you said, check out silverscreenandroll.com. We got a daily podcast. You just search Silver Screen and Roll in your, whatever podcast player you're listening to this in. And, that's pretty much where I am. I do the Silver Screen and Roll podcast. I'm on there once a week. And then, I'm writing pretty much every day at the site. So, yeah, just those 2 places. And then at HM Faigen on Twitter is where you can find me.
Perfect. Great. And we're definitely need to get you on the spaces at some point, too. That'll be.
Yes. Yeah. Ricky and I are already, we're figuring that out. But, yeah, we're going to do it. I'm ready to get yelled at by Ray Westbrook. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Can't wait for that. For us here on the Late Night Lake Show podcast, it's Omar, Ricky, and Harrison. We're out. Peace.